I don't know about all of us, but most of us are living here. If you're visiting, that's great, welcome. Do I have any hikers here? Who is a hiker? Okay, I wouldn't call myself a hiker. I wouldn't put that part of my identity, but I do love to hike. And in 2017, every year my family does these physical challenges. And in 2017, I said, I'm going to do my first 14er. I'm a Colorado native, and this was my first and only 14er. So as soon as we just start walking. We did Bierstadt, and it's like this beautiful view, and it's literally as I'm just walking, haven't even started hiking, just walking, I start immediately feeling lightheaded, and I start entering what I call delirium. I have no idea how I made it up the mountain. And my brother, he's like, cheering me on. He's like, you had 4 babies, you can do this. And I'm like, get out of my face. Like, I don't know how I'm doing this. But I did know that you have to pack light, okay? You don't want a heavy load. And so what I made sure to bring was my water pack, my silly sign that says, I made it, look at me. I look like I'm in delirium. And then I wish I would have brought lots more toilet paper because for some reason my goodness, it was constantly had to be. But anyway, too much information, but if you're thinking about hiking a 14er, carry some toilet paper with you. Okay, so essentially all of this to say is when you're trekking through life, you don't want a heavy load, okay? You want to pack light. And that's the name of our series that we've been diving into for Christmas. And we've been looking at how we can walk lightly, not just through this holiday season, but through our spiritual walk as well. Matthew did a great sermon last week on bitterness and how to unload your bitterness. And this week I am going to be talking about something near and dear to my heart, control. And how to let go of control so you can experience a deeper sense of trust in God. Now, I wouldn't say that I'm a control freak, okay? Just like I wouldn't say that I'm a hiker, but control is very important. Okay, it makes me feel a sense of peace, and I'm being honest with you. And for those of you who know anything about the Enneagram, I don't know if you do that. That's like a personality test that kind of looks at it looks like how you manage your emotions and how you interpret the world. Anyway, it's an interesting test that you should take. I'm an 8, okay, if you're familiar with the Enneagram. I'm a number 8, which is AKA the challenger. And two things about the challengers is we love independence and we love control, okay? But here's the thing, I didn't just come out the womb like that, okay? It was because of situations in my life. I think it had to do with a very chaotic time in my life where I lost my father in the same year that I lost my mama house, who was my grandmother, and then my mother had married, and then she got a divorce, and then I had a new sister, and then the woman who used to babysit me, she had died, and there was all of this chaos. And how I found my slice of control, my safety, my peace, was in my room. That is what I can control. So that's where I would go to. That's where they would find me, and all my family would bust open my doors to come say, what are you doing in here? But it was at that time in my life, that's where I really started to value control. And so the way that control shows up in my life currently is I love a good spreadsheet. I love to have things planned. We have a Sunday meeting with our whole family where we go over the calendar so none of the kids are surprised either by what they have this week. And when I start to sense that the world is getting too chaotic and with 5 kids and a husband and just life, it's always chaos. When I start to feel that way, I start to what my husband calls rage clean. I'm like, I can control this. Yes, amen. I'm like, I can control this. issues because I don't want to be alone. So let's go through some of these control issues together. Okay, you refuse to delegate. I can do it best. If you feel the need to always prove yourself worthy and are valuable. If you're a perfectionist, there's no such thing as perfection, but for some reason in some of our minds there is. You get moody when you're not the one making the decisions and calling the shots if your expectations are not met. You micromanage people in your life. Like, sure, my husband could do some things, but really, should he? Like, you know, I mean, like if I send him to do the girl's hair, I'm like, what'd you do that for? I'll just do it. You're quick to judge the actions of others. Oh gosh, why did they do that? You're unhappy if things do not go exactly to plan. You constantly criticize people. No, I don't do that, but you know what? I do some of the other stuff. You have a difficult time following other people's directions. I do struggle with that sometimes because I'm like, look, if there has to be a leader, I'll lead because I don't trust some of y'all. I mean, not you guys, but other people out there in the world. And recently I just had a cookie day, okay? Because I want to hone in on you're unhappy if things don't go according to plan. Because the other day I had a cookie day and I had a plan. It was the first day that most of the kids had off from school, and I was planning to have Christmas movies on while we baked cookies. There were 3 cookies, okay? Snickerdoodles, lemon bar cookies, and a new cookie. Okay, if I butcher the name, I apologize, but it was a New York Times, like, best cookie recipe. It's a Korean, it's a gwaseong cookie. Anyway, I tried it, and it came out really bad, you guys. I didn't even make the lemon bar cookies. I'm not a baker, I am a cook. With a cook, you get to, do a sprinkle of salt. It tastes bad, you throw in some pepper and some paprika, and then it starts making some sense. But baking has to be precise. And I don't like it because what I did was I doubled the recipe for the gwaseong cookies. But I forgot to double the flour. And so, it says to check the cookies midway through. I didn't even tell you that the kids didn't even help me. Okay, they took off midway through. They helped a little, so it's me making the cookies. That's not going according to plan. And then I open up the what's it called, the oven, and I see that it looks like toffee. And I'm like, well, maybe it just is, it's still cooking. I don't know, we still got another, 5 minutes to make. So I just rotate the pan, and I let it cook, and then I'm thinking, like, what the heck did you do wrong? And then I'm like, the flour. So then I said, well, I still have some of the batch left, so I'll just throw in a cup and a half of flour into the rest of this batch. And so then I baked those cookies, and those cookies came out horrible too. Those were just like flour dough. And then the other ones were like a toffee brittle thing. But if you stuck it together, it did taste good. I will say that, and we have some left. But anyways, it did not go as planned. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna make the lemon bar cookies. No one's even doing it. And I lost my grip of control. You see, because that's what control likes to do. It forces you to clinch through life. It's like, if I could just get a tighter grip on my plans, if I could just get a tighter grip on my circumstances, if I can just get a tighter grip on my relationships, then maybe they will go according to plan. And we often strive for this sense of control because really it's a human need that we all have. We all have this need. Now maybe for some of us it's worse than others that we're trying to get it met, but we all have this need for control because it creates a sense of stability and certainty in our lives. However, too much of anything is a bad thing. And so we often overestimate the degree to which we can influence influence and shape and predict the outcome of our lives. But really, here's the truth. By loosening the reins just a little bit, okay? I'm not telling all of us control freaks to just let go all the way. By loosening up the reins a little bit, it leads to a greater sense of adaptability, resilience, and also trust in God. Because life does not go as planned. There is always going to be a shift. There is always going to be a time in which we need to pivot. And so, getting used to a little bit of the chaos and loosening that grip, it will force us into hopefully a deeper relationship with God because we trust in Him more. That I'm not trying to trust in myself and my plans, but I'm trying to trust in God and His sovereignty and His plan over my life. Because really, control is just an illusion. Control is an illusion, and illusion is defined as a false appearance or deceptive impression of reality. So it's like you really think you have control, but in reality, you don't. And we often think we have more control over what we actually have control over. And in the 1930s, there was a preacher and a theologian, and he came up with a very well-known prayer. And it grew in popularity, and now you can see this prayer on coffee mugs, and you can hear it in AA groups, but it's called the Serenity Prayer. And what his name was, listen, I'm not great with names, but I'm going to try it. His name was Reinhold Niebuhr. Reinhold. I like the name. I just can't pronounce it. Reinhold. His name was Reinhold, and this is the quote. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is a very common prayer. Have you all heard this one before? Okay. I have whispered this prayer many times in my life, especially when I feel, again, that life is too chaotic and I've lost my sense of stability. And it reminds me that there are just things in life, no matter how hard you plan for, no matter how hard you prepare for, you just can't change them. And so it begs to question, well, how much control do I actually have? Really, how much control do we actually have? And here's a fun, now we're going to get in a little bit of self-development, some self-help stuff. So this is like a circle of control, okay? Anyone who has done well, I should say anyone who's done counseling. Maybe you've seen this in a counseling or therapy session. Maybe you've seen it just in like some self-development work. But I'm going to kind of go through what the different circles mean, okay? So if you look closely, there are some numbers here, 1, 2, 3. This is the inner circle, okay? That number 1, that's the things that you have control over. As you can see, that circle is smaller. Surprise! What you have control over are your thoughts, your words, and I want to go to thoughts for a second because sometimes it doesn't feel like we have much control over that, but our thoughts, our words, our actions and behaviors, our reactions, some of the decisions that we make, our mood to some degree even with that, because you could have different things that are playing a part, and my work ethic. And even again, it's like sometimes with that, depending on with me, a time of the month, it's like, I don't know, whatever, everything goes out the window. Okay, so those are the things we do have control over. And then we go to the blue circle. Those are the things that we kind of have influence over, but we really don't have control over. Okay, so that's like where I work, my children's future. I wrestle with this one because as a mom, you really want to have a plan, right? It's like I gave birth to these kids. They better do as I say. No, they're their own person and they're going to choose what they want. And then you have the number 3. This is larger. This is kind of like your area of concern, but you really, like, you're just tough out of luck there, bud. You don't have any control over this. You don't have any control over some cyber threats. I don't even think about cyber threats, but I don't have any control over it, okay? I don't have any control over Joe Biden and what comes out of his mouth or what doesn't come out of his mouth. We don't have control over any of that stuff. And so where I find stuff like this to be very helpful is because then I say, what I need to focus on? I need to focus on then what I have control over. That's what I typically go to. Typically when I'm really going through a lot of stress, I'm like, what do I have control over? What can I focus on? Instead of saying, okay, God, I'm going to trust in you. I'm going to trust in you that I don't know what my kids are doing, but I'm going to trust that you have something figured out. I want to give it to you, God. And I'm being honest here. Because for some of us, it is hard to say, I'm giving this over. I'm letting this go. Because I just think that if there's something else I can do, if there's just something else I can do, if there's something else that I can plan for. Nowhere up here does it say a circle of throw it in the God basket, okay? Throw it in the God circle and just say, okay, I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust. There is another Mother Goose rhyme from 1695 that says this, and it echoes the Serenity Prayer. It says, for every ailment under the sun, there is a remedy or there is none. If there be one, try to find it. If there be none, never mind it. And in 1695, they didn't have all the vaccines back then. Folks were dying a lot. So, if there be none, never mind it. You know, what? That's hard for me. Is it kind of hard for other people out there? Like just to say, well, never mind it. But understanding the illusion of control, it really can have profound implications on our overall well-being. And if we just accept the uncertainty of life, we can also accept that this can lead to a greater sense of resilience. Like I said, we can foster adaptability. We can be a little agile, like a ballerina, just going through life. And hopefully, it can decrease the anxiety that I know a lot of us who love control tend to have. A tightly gripped hand on control prevents us from stepping into a trusting relationship with God, where we can rest in His sovereignty. And not only is control an illusion, control is the antithesis of trust. Trusting in Him, trusting in God. You see, because control and trust, they stand at opposite ends of the spectrum. And when we insist on control and demand control, we inadvertently resist the guidance that calls us to a greater purpose. Trust, on the other hand, is an act of surrender. It is the act of letting go. It is the act of opening your hand. It involves a conscious choice to listen to God's voice and follow the path that He lays before us. So in Proverbs 3, verse 5 through 6, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Well, maybe if I wrote this verse, it might say, trust in a good Excel sheet. I'm kidding. But the verse isn't, I will make my path straight. I don't have all the resources to do that. I don't have all the knowledge to do that. I believe that I do. Like maybe some of you do. It's like, but I do. I've gone to school. I am so educated. I've done all the work. I'm so developed. And I'm all of these X, Y, and Z things. But at the end of the day, we're not God. We weren't called to be God. We were called to be a child of His and to follow and to trust. And the New Living Translation says this. The NLT version, it says that God will show you which path to take. And that really resonates with me. That He's going to show you which path to take. And when we trust in God, He's going to guide us on which path is best for us. He's like our own GPS. God is like the divine GPS system. GPS. I guess if I said GPS system, that's kind of redundant. But He's the divine GPS that we all have access to. And I used to think that trusting in God meant Him being in the driver's seat. So frequently in church, growing up, I would hear, like, let God drive. Let Him be in the driver's seat. And, oh, you brought, yes, because that's exactly right. That's right here. That's the next words I'm saying. Carrie Underwood says, Jesus take the wheel. Take it from my hands. I'm not going to sing, because I can't do this on my own. I'm letting go. So give me one more chance and save me from this road. Jesus, take the wheel. So it is an amen. But there was some part of me where it's like, really? But God also gave me a mind, and God also gave me autonomy and independence. And like there's this control within me that's like, how do I do that and say, you get in the driver's seat? And so it just didn't resonate with me. And I didn't want to be a puppet, just a passive passenger through life. And I don't think that that's true of God. Maybe I'm a little crazy. I actually believe that He gave us a free will choice for a reason, because He wants us to choose. You see, He wants us to choose the GPS that we have access to. He wants us to choose to tap in and say, I'm lost. Maybe not even every time that you're lost, but just tap in and say, show me which way to go. And I don't have one of those fancy cars. I think Tesla, like they have, maybe it's more than Tesla. I got an old car, okay? But I don't have the GPS system just like sitting in the middle of my car. But I do have Google and Maps on Google. And so regardless, it's a GPS system. And if I want to get to Colorado Springs, a specific destination that I haven't been before to Colorado Springs, guess what? I'm going to turn on my GPS. And GPS is so handy because it's going to point to the best route to take. It's also going to say, alert, alert, there's a cop. I mean, it doesn't say that, right? It says speed trap ahead. There's this handy dandy, the voice, and it's like, press yes if it's still there. And sometimes I don't even see the cops, and I'll still press yes just to maybe, alert others maybe I didn't see them. And it'll also say there's a slowdown ahead. You see, when we tap into God and choose to turn Him on, to activate Him, not just go through life ripping stuff, thinking I'm going to make it, but when we choose to say, navigate this for me. I don't know where to go. I don't know what decision to make here. And we don't have to do it just when we're lost. See, there are some people, I've actually only met one person like this, that they just always have their GPS going. And there is some advantages to that, because then you're always knowing, like, if there's a cop coming or if there's a slowdown ahead. You see, when God is always on, when you are always accessing God, then He's always going to be telling you, oh, wait a second, redirect here. Wait a second, you're moving too fast. You got to slow down. oh wait, don't miss your exit here. So it's not just accessing him when we need it, when we need it most. It's being consistent and allowing him to be on all the time. So we're constantly tapped in and trusting that he is going to direct us, that he is going to choose the path best for us. So, how we start to loosen the grip of control. I'm going to go through three things. Is one, we have to first choose to ask. I love that God is big, and I love that I can come to him with any problem and any situation. I can come to him in anger. I can come to him in rage. I can come to him in love. I can come to him in submission. But he doesn't force himself. He's never forced himself on me. I have to choose and go and say, okay, God, here I am. And choosing to ask is saying, it's saying, one, about myself, that I don't have it all under control. That I don't know. That there are circumstances here that I don't have the answers to. I sometimes put on a brave face and pretend like I do, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing here. It also says, just by the simple, not task, but just the simple request of asking, it's saying that I actually trust that he has an answer. So it's like, okay, God, I'm going to trust in you just by opening my mouth. Can you please lead me? And then the second thing that we have to do to start loosening that grip is choose to listen. Okay, you asked, and then God starts showing you stuff. I don't know if you've ever done that before. Oh boy, I did it. Oh Lord. I was like, Lord, just show me. And then he started showing me stuff, and I was like, wait a second, not that. Don't show me that, because now I have to do something about it. Now I have to do something. You showed me too much. And I was just talking to my husband about this last night, because there was a situation with my first husband, and I was praying, and it was a very bad situation. And I was praying because I never believed in divorce. And I'm like, but God, I'll stay here. But God, I'm still going to trust you. But I need you to show me. And then he started showing me things. And then I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. This is too much. And then there was even a moment where I'm like, okay, but God, is there still something there? And then it took a very, very bad situation with me going back for me to be like, nope, that was not God. God is like, didn't I show you? Get on out of here. Like, you need to quit. There are certain things I am trying to show you, but you need to listen. And sometimes it does come across in that still small voice. Sometimes it comes across in our dreams where it's like, gosh, that dream just really, that is just something in that thing that is resonating with me. Sometimes it comes through the mouth of someone else that you loved. And they're like, do you not see this right here? And you're like, you know what? I've never looked at a situation like that before. You see, sometimes it is very explicitly clear where it's like, I know that this is God's voice, but sometimes it's not. And so that's why if we're constantly tuned into him, hopefully that voice we can say, okay, God, is this you? Come on, Lord. We have to choose to listen. If we're going to ask a question, we better be ready to listen and receive it. And sometimes, I don't know, well, for me, God isn't like, oh, yes, my love, you sweet girl. That's, I wish that was like, I don't know why I did an English voice there. For some reason, that just seems, I don't know. I was trying to make fun of God, but that just sounds like such a loving, caring voice. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like, I showed you. Now come on, Gigi, get it together. Sometimes it is the strong, firm voice. The third thing that we can do to loosen our grip on control. Firstly, we said, all right, I'm going to ask. I'm going to trust that you got an answer. I'm going to trust you. Then we got to listen to that. And then we have to follow. All three of these steps require us to remain humble. It's saying that, okay, again, I don't have all the answers, but I know someone who does, and he can choose my path, and I'm just going to trust in him to ask. I'm going to trust in him to listen, and I'm going to trust in him to follow. Because he will send warning signs to us. He will send alerts to us, even if you asked him, if you didn't even ask him. Sometimes he sends these alerts and warnings. But sometimes these things go straight over our heads because we're not tapped in. Because we think that we know it all. Because our grip on control and our plan is what we think we have in mind. And God is like, well, that's not what I had in mind. So trust goes beyond just asking and listening. It involves the action, to do something, to follow through on what you have asked him about and what you have listened to. And this is an active relationship. It's not a passive passenger. This is an active relationship that you initiated when you said, all right, Lord, rule my life. All right, Lord, be the Savior in my life. Can I trust you? I'm going to trust you. Psalm 37:5 says, commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will do this. Trust in him. Trust that his plan is better than your plan. You see how I was a little hesitant? Because if I'm being honest, the thought of a plan that I don't know being better than a plan that I can think of is scary. It is scary. It reminds me, now I grew up in the church, and in middle school youth group, what they used to do, I don't know why they do these stupid things. I shouldn't say stupid, sorry, that's not a nice word. That's what I say in my house. But they have you stand up on these chairs or maybe something like this, and then the rest of the youth group stands here in a line. Has anyone done this? And they're like, turn around, and now you're just going to trust fall. And I'm like, no. Some of y'all I've never even met before. Like you just wanted to go to the youth retreat. And I'm supposed to trust you? You know, and then at the end of it, it becomes this huge thing, and it is effective. It's just like, you know, God is going to be there. If you trust, you know, he's going to be there. He's going to catch you when you fall. Now, I'm not telling any of you to stand up here and fall and say, God, trust me. I am not telling you that. But what I am asking you to do is look through your life. Think through your time here on earth. And think through your relationship with God. And has there been a time where you said, God, I'm going to step out and I'm going to trust you. God, I know this seems crazy, but I'm going to fall and I'm just praying that you're going to be there. God, I'm going to trust that you have this plan set out for me, even though it seems crazy to everyone that I tell. Has there been a time in your life where God did catch you? Because when I think back in my life, and some of the hardest times, when I needed him most, I'm like, okay, if you say you're going to be here, I need you here right now. That is when he showed up. So trust in him. But in order to do that, you have to let go. You have to say, okay, I know I get some sort of security in this control, but I can also find my security in you. I know that I get a little bit of peace when I have this control, but I feel peace when you have encompassed me. You have to let it go so that you can fall under his protective wings. And allow him to show you the path that is right for you. And as I begin to wrap up, and I've just been reflecting on this season of Advent, and I'm constantly drawn to the characters, specifically Mary, and just thinking through what she may have been feeling and thinking as she had to give up control, as she had to trust an angel, as she had to trust as she went through the delivery process, as she had to trust and believe as she raised Jesus to become the Messiah, as she had to trust. I wonder how she felt. I wonder if she just had this great sense of peace. You see, you are not being asked to do something that so many people have not been asked to do before you. You're asked to surrender it all and to trust in God. And Mary had to do it. She had to trust all the way until seeing her son crucified on the cross. Joseph had to do it right beside her. And so as we I don't know if you guys are internal processors, but as we just process this time of Advent and thinking through what it meant for Mary and Joseph and even Jesus to let go of the control, at the other side of it, they received so much more. They received a deep relationship with the Lord that only He can provide. So my prayer is that our grip of control will loosen and that we will be able to experience a depth in the trust in Him. And I just want to pray over us. God, I thank you. I thank you for this season. I thank you for Jesus. Lord, I just pray over our lives. I pray over our hearts. I pray over any weariness any of us may be feeling, God. I pray over any fear that any of us may be feeling, that any of us may be harboring. God, help us to let go. Help us to lay these things at your cross. Help us to unburden our packs so that we may be able to just trek through this life with a lighter load. God, help us to trust you. Trust that you have the path laid out for us. God, be with us and meet us. Meet us in our relationships. Meet us in our circumstances. In your name, I pray. In Jesus' name.